I'm coming in hot.
I'm Andrea DeLapp, a financial advisor and partner at Donathan Sturdivant Wealth Advisors. And I'm a mom of 5 in a blended family. 5 kids. So we fill the Yukon.
Yeah, I'm going to add this. I don't typically do this. Andrea is a good friend of mine. And so me interviewing Andrea, I told her when she first got here, the last 10 people I've done, I didn't know them. And I have found that for me, it's kind of easier to interview people I don't know. Yeah. But with you, I do know you. But I just like to kind of throw that out there too. In the event people go, man, Trav seems a little bit more comfortable with this one. Well, this is a friend of mine. This person.
Hopefully that means I'm more comfortable, right?
Yeah, I hope so. But it's funny because I have people calling me Trav now because I've changed my profile stuff literally on Facebook to make. Yeah. I like when people call me Trav. I feel like it's more endearing. I feel like, well, now we're friends. And like with you just call me Trav all the time. And I always feel like if someone naturally calls me that, that's how I know we're friends now. Yeah. Like eventually it'll be Travis. And then at some point someone will, yo, Trav. And I'm like, it just happened. Now we're friends.
Yeah. You've kind of adopted, I feel like, that brother mentality a little bit. Yeah. Like just the friendship, all of that has made me just call you Trav. I don't know.
I guess.
Now it's a thing. So
yeah, now it is a thing. But you're someone that it was a thing before it was a thing. Keep telling them what's going on currently in your world, and then we'll get into the good stuff.
Yeah, blended family's new for me. So I'm busy with 5 kids and in sports and extracurricular activities and neighborhood kids out front, and then trying to balance that with being a working mom. And I do a lot in our community for youth sports too, and sometimes that's a thankless job, but it is something I'm passionate about, is making sure kids have opportunities to do something that's not in trouble. They're not getting in trouble. They're learning how to work with a team and listen to authority and have hard work ethic, do hard things. And I think it really sets kids up for a career or being a good spouse one day or a good parent. And so I'm passionate about that. So any extra time I have, I feel like, is spent helping some kids do some sports right now.
And she has no extra time.
Yeah, not really. No extra time. I do I do have hobbies. I just don't feel like I get as much time to do them, but I, love to be outdoors. I love to play sports too myself. I don't feel like I'm as agile anymore. I feel like my knees hurt every time I try to play basketball, but I do like to kayak and hike and do those kind of things that kind of just let your mind and your soul rest. Like this summer I went and kayaked underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. It was just something really awesome to go out and do, and a little terrifying to be on the ocean, but it was just really cool just to sit and look around and let your soul rest. Like we need that. My natural inclination is just to be busy all the time. If I can avoid hard things in life, it's to busy myself. So
you are one of the most busy people I know. I watched your guys' little adventure on your social media going down there, which was cool.
Yep. It was really fun. That was with no kids. So the one week we had all summer, no kids.
That must have been weird, actually.
It is.
Them.
It was really weird, but fun and needed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes you need a break and you need to enjoy each other. And after some of the stuff I've gone through, it was really necessary for me to travel and get away. I've done more traveling in the last summer than I feel like I have done in my whole previous 33 years of life. Mm-hmm. So
you're only 33?
34, almost 35.
That's what I thought.
But the last year
I know.
has been different.
I know. Yep. Can I tell them that you're kind of big time at your work?
Oh my gosh, I'm not big time, but
I feel like you are.
Okay.
I feel like, can I brag? Well, that's the thing. Like with the people I know, it's like you're not gonna freaking say it, and so I always like with my friends that have been on here, I try to like say, will you just tell what the reality is? Like with Mike, right? Like Mike was the first episode.
Yeah.
And if you know Mike and you know what he's currently doing, you know he's a custom home builder and he only builds right now multi-million-dollar homes, right? That's just the kind of custom home builder he is.
Yeah.
It's not a brag. It's not. He used to build spec homes. He
Right.
used to build houses that didn't cost that much. That's just what he's doing now. He's got a home coming up on the Street of Dreams. So like trying to get that fool to like say that, he won't say that. Like in the
No.
like, bro, like
You don't want to boast about yourself.
But here's the thing though, like if that's just what your business model is though, like is it really boasting
True.
to say I build custom homes? So like his humble way of saying it was, well, it's just what we do. We find ourselves not going below $1 million for a house. And so, you know, this is my opportunity to I'm not even gonna say brag. It's more just to like, what's the reality, you know? And so yes, you work there, but I believe you're also a partner there as well. And so
Yeah.
I just like to give people the full picture.
No, it's been a journey. I didn't think I'd be here. Our industry, just really quick, is made up of less than 25% are women, female advisors in our industry. So primarily what I've worked with is men. And it's been a challenge at times. I mean, I feel like I'm really comfortable and I fit right in, but there are stark differences. And you can either get discouraged by it or you can make something of it. And that's what I feel like I've done is just, what's my niche? What can a female advisor do that a male advisor can't? And what can I do as a female partner? And really, I was just inspired. I mean, my mom was a teen mom. She was 16 when she had me, and she worked 3 jobs. So I grew up with a mom with a really hard work ethic. And if there's anything I can do, it's work hard. Even if I'm not the smartest in the room, I do feel like I can work really hard. And so
I remember when we met and we started to become friends, and then at some point it was like your parents or what, and then I remember thinking like, wait, what? How old are you? And then I think I saw a photo of your mom or something.
She looks like my sister.
And it was like,
she's gorgeous.
What?
And young and
yeah. And then it was
successful.
like, yeah, she was this age. And
but one thing my mom, I feel like, and my grandma really pushed me towards is trying to find out that work-life balance. I always desired to be a mom, but I also desired to do something with my brain and just meaningful with my life. And so one of the things that I feel like I'm most proud of at work is just that there's a magazine called Working Mothers. And it was something I was excited to go home and show my girls. Like there's Forbes Awards and all that nonsense, but the Working Moms was like, girls, this is what I want for you. I want to be an example for you. And no, like if you want to, you can do something and you can be a mom. And hopefully my girls grow up thinking we have a really great mom who worked hard, but who also was there and made us chocolate chip cookies while we played basketball outside. And played basketball with us. Like I want to be that mom. And that's the most important role to me. It's become more and more important through just the seasons I've walked through recently and how fast time goes. They're preteens. And so I feel like they're much more demanding of my time, even though they say they don't want it anymore.
yeah.
They're too cool for me.
Yeah. My daughter is friends with your daughters. So we also have that. We're not just buds as adults.
Yeah.
We also got these little knucklehead girls that hang out with each other.
Who cry for no reason. And I don't know. I don't even know sometimes when they walk out of the room why they're dressed the way that they are. Like that's the season of life we're in where I'm like, go put a shirt on. I have a shirt on. No, you don't. That's where we're at.
That's a half of a shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think like with my friends, there's like so many different
Avenues.
things where I could go. We didn't talk about this earlier, as you talk about a woman in a man's world and whatnot. And I've had multiple women on. Tonight's episode will be Ellen. We talked a little bit about Kara, where you saw Kara wave to her.
Yeah.
Don't know if she probably is like, I didn't even know Andrea knows who I am.
Sure.
And I think it's because you saw her on here, or you already knew who
Yeah,
Kara
I
was.
saw her on here, and then Jonathan Sturdivant, I kind of run the Facebook page for them, and it was Women's Small Business Month. So I told Gabby, who's another advisor there, her second female advisor who just got licensed, give me some women small business owners. And Kara was one, and Ellen was one. So I got to post like their picture and their bio, but haven't met them. But I feel like through the podcast and through their little snippet, I'm like, I feel like I know you.
Yeah.
So when I walk by, I'm waving, and they don't know who I am, but we will. We will connect at some point. We should, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm learning that world of women champion women with having Kara and Ellen, because they're buds. Those two are buds, but they have a lot of events that are just women only things. Which, did you hold something on Monday or no?
I did.
You did.
Yeah. So recently I started kind of a brand, Women, Wine, and Wealth. And I don't know, through COVID, I went through a divorce, and we can talk about that later, but I just felt like there was a lack of community through COVID, right? I mean, connection was down because we couldn't be around people we were normally around. There weren't events to go to. And coming out of COVID, I feel like we just didn't do a great job at coming back from it. I think moms, especially women in general, but moms more so, have a really hard time juggling getting out and doing something. We have this guilt of like, well, I've either worked all day and I haven't seen my kids, so I need to go home and I need to cook my family dinner. And, I get a little frustrated because it's like these guys are going on golf trips and they're going to Vegas. Like, if I go somewhere, I've got to think about, not anymore, but I've got to think about, who's going to watch the kids and who's going to pick them up from school and who's going to drop them off. And do I need to do 7 freezer meals so that way when I'm gone, they have something to eat? And like I said, it's not that way anymore, but that's how moms have to think. Like, they have to plan ahead so much it's not worth it. So I really wanted to draw women together and build community. I love wine. So if you take away anything from today, it's that I love wine. And then obviously...
Which, by the way, speaking of wine,
yeah.
Actually, fun little story. I feel like people appreciate these stories. When we first met, me and Adrian went to that little cabin thing that you had
that's right.
And I had said, I'm going to do a little
blind wine test. That's
and
right.
The funny thing is you actually know wine, and and that's not really me and Adrian's world, but it was funny that Adrian got them right.
Yeah.
She it
and
was like
not.
cheap, middle, and then I don't know how expensive the expensive one was, but it wasn't cheap. And yeah, that was funny. That Adrian, because she's not a wine person. I
picked Menage a Trois, which is like a $5.99 bottle of wine.
I think you did pick the cheapest one as the most expensive one.
It's crazy. And you picked one I drink like almost every day.
Yes.
So it was pretty fun.
That was fun.
So wine, I love wine. And then the last part is wealth. It's obviously what I do. I just really think there's a lack of education sometimes for women in finances. We go back 50 years and women have no part in the finances typically. If we're talking in broader terms, it's gotten significantly better over time. We have amazing small business owners that are women that really understand the financial aspect. But through my divorce, I really learned that probably a couple dozen reached out and asked for help after kind of hearing a little bit of my story. And one of them said, I don't even know if I own or rent. I was like, whoa, like this is actually a tragedy. If I didn't have the knowledge I had, divorce would have been even more stressful to walk through. And I just think I see it every day, whether it's husbands die or divorce happens or incapacity, something to that level where women have to step up. And they're not dumb. Like, women are super smart, and they, I think, feel empowered when they're involved. And it's kind of a goal of mine to make sure women feel empowered in that way. So I tried not to make it super boring, but we went to Just Us Girls, which is a coffee and wine shop in the 45th Parallel building
Mm-hmm.
on Monday night. And we talked about the flight of wine we were drinking, and we sat around tables together and did community. And hopefully they left with a couple tips of how they can build their wealth and what they can be involved in.
Yeah.
So we are hosting one every quarter. And then there's obviously lots of ways just in my job, even that I try to empower women in education about that. So,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Um, Anything else you want to say about kind of what you do, or before we get into your story? Do you want to talk about what type of clients you kind of manage, or that, or will just leave it that you are a wealth
I mean, I'll
manager?
just say this. There's really my goal in life, and I think ours as a company has been that there's never be a minimum. Your story, your need doesn't change. We want to help. I just have the belief that if my kids didn't inherit anything one day and they needed help, I would want a company like ours to help them. So I would want to be that person. So it's been my goal, like, whoever it is and whatever your situation is, like, I will show up for you and I'll help. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the type of people. I
Yeah.
just want real people who need my help.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like I know most of that part, but now we might get into some stuff that I
Some good
don't know.
stuff.
So you start wherever you want in your journey of life and
Yeah.
how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Well, I alluded to earlier just my mom being a teen mom. We grew up in pretty extreme poverty. I didn't really understand it at a young age, but it's pretty powerful looking back on where I am today and where I came from. My mom worked really hard, but there's not much you can do when you're 16. She had a lot of family support that helped us get through. But we went through some hard stuff. I mean, there was some, childhood trauma for sure that affected my thought processes and what I believed about myself. It wasn't a great home environment in high school. I ended up leaving my home really early and living with grandma. And it broke down the relationship between my parents and I. And since then, it's been restored. But we really struggled through some stuff. That really led me to get married really early because at 17, I guess, when I started dating my ex-husband, he was in the army and I felt like it was stability and things weren't good at home. And being a parent today, there's probably a lot that I would have done differently as a kid that I thought my parents were the worst. And they probably have reflected on stuff too that they could have done because that's what we do as parents.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I wanted out, and so I found this guy, and like I said, he was in the military and he had a quote unquote job. He worked for his dad, and I got married really young. He went on deployment, came back, and about a month or so later, we ended up getting married after his deployment, and he was a different person. I mean, he definitely saw a lot and went through some stuff and had PTSD for sure. I didn't know what any of that was or looked like at 19. I just didn't, but we got married and it was a rough road of the results of PTSD
Mm-hmm.
and the results of my own childhood. And
Mm-hmm.
we all come in with our own baggage.
Yep.
So, we were married for 13 years and we just struggled back and forth. He just refused to get the help that he probably needed. And so that resulted in addictions and a lack of awareness, unemployment, put a lot of pressure on me. And I felt like I was drowning. Several years ago is probably 2018 when I had just used this analogy, like I feel like I'm being held underwater,
Mm-hmm.
like I can't breathe. And I really needed someone to just come and save me. Like I didn't even feel like I had the energy to swim anymore. I we had reached a point where there was quite a bit of abuse in our marriage, a lot of sexual trauma, and I never really shared with anyone. I mean, I was part of the church, and we were working in youth ministry, so we hung out with high school kids all the time. And it was like I felt like we couldn't struggle. So I felt like we needed to just show the world we were okay until I couldn't swim anymore. And at that point, I reached a moment after some abuse had happened where I dumped some pills on the counter, and I just thought, there's no way out. I went to the church for help, and I kind of got responses like it's my wifely duty, to paraphrase it. And I was distraught. Like, I felt so much shame. And I had no idea. It was the first guy I was ever with. So I didn't know any different. But I knew something wasn't right. Like, I was severely depressed. And I remember just bawling in my bathroom on the floor and just thinking, like, I don't know how else to do this except end it. I don't want people to think I failed at this marriage. I don't want people to know what's happening, because it felt so embarrassing to me. And I might get emotional about this.
You wouldn't be the first person.
Okay. But I had my daughter at the time. She was probably 4, 5. Oh gosh, she's 10, so maybe not. Maybe 6. But she came and knocked on the door. Mom. And I just stood up, and I had tears in my eyes, and I just thought to myself, like, if this is bad for me, how could I leave him? Why would I leave him? And it was that moment that I knew I needed help. And which is really hard for me. I don't ask for help.
No,
I don't.
No, you don't.
I just keep going.
You can figure it out on your own.
So I reached out to get some counseling, and that was like my first step. And it was helpful. It kept me probably still underwater, but still swimming towards the surface enough to get me through. But I so badly wanted to make it work for a multitude of reasons. I did love him. I just wanted him to get help. And I begged and I pleaded, and nothing happened. In fact, I just felt like it was getting worse. And I didn't feel like I had support, which made me not share what was going on. And looking back, I wish I would have done that differently, because I think had I said exactly what was going on, there would have been people there. But I was, whether stubborn or embarrassed or shamed or whatnot, I didn't want to expose any of that.
Who would you? I feel like this is the part in people's stories that like people like really want to know. Like when you say I would have done it differently. Like when you look back, who would you have? You feel like I'm working at the church, and obviously you know me, you know that I'm a pastor's kid. I mean, my dad's currently in a lawsuit with his former employer, the church. You also know I still go to church. Mm-hmm. You also know I'm still a Christian. Yeah. Things are messy. Yeah. Marriages are messy. You and I know each other because of my first marriage. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for Megan. Right. And I want to say Megan worked at West when you were going there.
She was coaching while I was playing.
Because she always talked about you.
And Megan worked for us at one point.
Yes. Yeah. So like the first part was you were still in high school and she worked at West, coached at West. Yep. I remember hearing about you, and then you guys worked together. So, I mean, just keeping it real for people watching or listening, I know you because of my first marriage. Yeah. And so I say all that to say things are messy,
Super
and
messy.
I don't want to put anyone down, and I don't want it's just there's tough things, and so these are some of the tough things. And I understand with the church thing where you feel like, well, we're supposed to be perfect. I
Yeah.
know as a pastor's kid, I thought I was supposed to be perfect because my
Right.
dad was up on stage preaching.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, there's a lot of that culture. Not every church. I'm not trying to
No.
church bash because I go to church and I still do those things. Um, so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I know you
Yeah.
go to church,
Yep.
but unfortunately, your experience with that wasn't probably what it should have been. But I'm curious for people that might be wondering, or someone that's in that boat right now,
Mm-hmm.
what would you have done different? What would that have looked like? What would you have liked that to look like?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would have talked about it earlier. Even when I did talk about it, it wasn't completely honest. It wasn't. It was so shameful, and I, would encourage if anyone really wants to hear my story, they just come find me because
Mm-hmm.
it is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal. I still struggle with embarrassment from it. I feel really violated. So I would have talked about it earlier. And I had close friends that I that probably could have stepped in more, but that's not all on them. That's partly on me for not sharing the extent of what was going on. I'm not sure that it would have ended different,
Mm-hmm.
but in my mind, I was trying the best I could.
Yeah.
It was, I was in survival too.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in a great space because I'd felt so beaten down. I'd felt so exhausted. I had no capacity in life. I was the only one working, trying to provide and trying to be a mom after being abused. I just felt worn out.
I asked that question because I would have to imagine at some point, unless you have me take your episode off the internet, off of YouTube and off of all the audio platforms, someone will watch or someone will listen that is experiencing it in real time. And so any advice or encouragement, almost speak to that person that is, they're in it right now.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, we talked a lot about the podcast out there earlier, and people reaching out to me or asking me questions, or me trying to think what would someone want to know, and that's what I'm thinking right now. Like, as you say, I look back and maybe I wish or could have done something different or whatnot. And then I just thought, there'll probably be someone or someone's
Right.
watching this or listening in the midst of that, feeling hopeless, drowning. It sounds like the biggest thing is like talk about it sooner.
Soon, and just find people you trust.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot do it alone. And I think I did that for far too long. Moms are really good at that, right? Like I said, it's just sometimes I'm just a workhorse and I'll just keep moving forward, just keep pulling all that baggage with me. And at some point, I had to become humble and ask for help. So it's finding someone you trust. It's finding those that you can surround yourself with that remind you of your worth, that remind you that you're enough. Because in the midst of it, you don't feel like you're enough.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like you're wanted. You feel ugly or not worthy.
Yeah.
And you need to surround yourself with a community of people who remind you of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would say to them is find help, find someone like me. Like I encourage people all the time. I want to hear your story. I want to be that encouragement for you.
We'll buckle up because
Yeah.
once this comes out,
But I love it.
like
It's
we just talked
inspired
about,
me.
like Ellen said yesterday,
Yeah.
someone came up to her and was like, "Yo, I felt like I know that person on the
Yeah.
podcast. I never met him.
Yeah.
You're now inviting it."
I know. And I love it though. Like it gives me purpose in life. And we talked about this already, but I don't want to just go through life being a victim.
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Mm-hmm.
not be a victim. I'm not a victim anymore. I am a survivor, and I feel like I can draw from that strength, and I can use my story and have purpose. And my purpose, if it's helping one walk through something really hard where they have that bottle on the counter, or they feel like their life is not enough, that I can encourage them. Like, that's enough for me. That's enough, because that's what I needed, right? Mine happened to be my 6-year-old at the time. But some people don't have that. Some people need to be reminded of that over and over again, and that's what you have to find. And there's more like me, but I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So, as you started, I feel like we met you kind of after this point. Like you were kind of,
I think I was like going through it,
yeah, trying to
right?
figure out what that all looked like. I know I interrupted you, so yeah, keep going in that journey of your story.
Yeah. I asked for help, like I said, and wasn't getting it. I decided that, taking a couple weeks off work and trying to make it work with my family was worth it. And I tried, and it ended up it ended up that he ended up having an affair. And so for my situation, that's kind of what I needed at the time for me to say, like, no more. I think I had made that decision prior to finding that out, but it gave me what I felt like at the time was I wasn't a failure because of it. Needless to say, none of us are failures. But at the time, that's what I was feeling. And so I ended up leaving, and it was the worst year of my life. To walk through a divorce is one of the hardest things I can imagine someone would go through, especially recovering from trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed a lot of help. I needed community. It was in the middle of COVID, so my community was stripped from me. I basically had my work because we all worked together, and they saw the ugly and the beautiful and the tears and the laughter. They got to see everything, but they showed up for me. Our CEO of the company came and shut down the office for 2 days so they could come and clean out my house. They showed up for me over and over again, and that's what I hope for everyone. And I know not everyone has that, but it literally saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I'm still in counseling, right? I still struggle with stuff today. I'm in a new relationship, and there's aftermath, right? You have to relearn things. And at 34 years old, you have certain ways that you do things, and you've got to learn how to redo some things. You've got to put in the effort. And I feel like I have, but with that, trauma's ugly. Brokenness is messy, and not everyone wants to hear your brokenness. And that's the sad part about our society is, like, we don't always come with open hands to say, we're all broken people. Like, let me hear your story.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to avoid it because it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's messy.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I feel like I've just sat in it, and this has been the happiest year of my life, right? I'm in a great relationship. I have amazing kids. I feel really healthy, quote unquote. But I still felt like this heaviness, and I couldn't figure out why. And I really think it's just working through trauma.
Yeah.
When you have the space and time to go through some of that, release it so it's not captive over you, you walk through hard things, and you have to give yourself some grace. And so that's what's happened this last year. I got to a point where I was walking through all this and felt like stuff at work was just too much. Like, this isn't balanced well. What am I doing again? I need to work through this stuff because this is going to make me a better version of myself. And so that's what I've done is I've slowed down life a little bit. I still work really hard at my job, but I've just taken a step back and said my self-care, my mental health first and foremost, my spiritual health, all of that has to be in check. And it's up and down. It doesn't look perfect still to this day, but I'm feel really blessed to be in a position where there is support and there is a partnership, and it's a journey worth walking through. Just in those moments, doesn't really feel like that. I use this analogy on Monday, but the markets are crazy this year, right? That's what the phone calls I get every day. And sometimes life just sucks and you have to sit down, buckle up, and just weather the storm.
Embrace the suck.
Brace the suck.
I just heard I'm helping. It's like a saying because someone else said it to me. And I'm helping the McNary girls basketball team.
Oh, okay.
And Mike McShane is the coach.
Yeah.
And at tryouts Monday, I wasn't able to go yesterday, but he had the girls. He's pushing them pretty hard. It'll be good for them. And he had them doing some stuff that they were tired, and he was saying that. He was like trying to explain that, and he was like, you need to this sucks. Yep. This really sucks what I'm having you guys do. And we're working on, your quads and your hamstring. He was having them get low, and he's like, it sucks, I know, but you need to embrace that. And, that pain and whatnot, it's actually going to make you better. You're going to enjoy during the game.
Right.
That pain that I'm putting you through right now, but it sucks. And embrace that suck. And I think there's a lot of stuff in life that's part of it. That's part of the journey, part of the growth. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I don't do what you do. I actually went to college. Like, my degree is in finance. Yeah. And I've never went into finance. And to be honest, I got a couple of you friends that are in that space. And I'm like,
and you wish you did, don't you?
Like, you know what? Like, yeah, there's some good money in there, but I don't know some of the stuff you guys got to deal with, and it's heavy. I mean, people like trusting you guys with their life savings, and
it's the second most vulnerable aspect of a client's life, money. And I always tell people I need a psychology degree too, because couples come into my office and it's like there's just a whole bunch of stuff that comes with it. Heaviness a lot, and tension and stress. Doesn't matter how much you have. So
you could do a podcast on all that. I've had so many people come on here and I'm like, yo, I got a great podcast idea. Which I probably will be a guy that I help other people start and create and run podcasts, like the guy I was telling you about yesterday. Which that'll hit too. You'll be, I'll probably have you be a guest on that show that we put together.
Well, this is easy.
With Life After. Yeah. It's
two friends.
Yeah. But like the money thing, it's easy to just view that as this like, oh, it's money. But it's like, no, like you said, the second
most vulnerable.
Yeah. Like there's a whole nother aspect of the dollars and cents, and that vulnerability in people's lives and what it means to them, or the options or lack of options, or they could do this and now they got to go back to work, or it's I'm like thinking like what kind of podcast that could be, like a down to earth, here's the stuff that we really do, here's how it really affects people. Because I mean, you guys get to see all kinds of to see all kinds of stuff in their life. Like me doing insurance, I get to see, I know where you live because I have the address to your house. I know what you drive. If I insure your business, I know stuff about your business, but not the personal stuff though. How
much money you're spending and what you're spending it on, and
you
how
guys
often
know
you
that.
ask for it. Like, that's what keeps people from it. I will say most people are too afraid to ask for help because they think they're behind. And the reality is we're all behind. I'm a financial advisor and I feel behind. Like, none of us should be embarrassed about our situation, because if that were the case, I would be too. I mean, I was fairly set back as well through my divorce, and we shouldn't be that way. We should be, I'll celebrate with you that you are where you are, and we'll figure out what needs to be done to go forward. That's what matters.
Yeah.
We can't do anything about the past. We have to use it and move on from it.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah, now you got something to be throwing at your people.
Yeah.
A slogan.
There you go.
I'm trying to think what else. It's weird with friends because obviously there's a lot of different things I could ask, but what else do you want to share? What Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of places we could go. That's probably like the most relevant to my life right now. Kind of what I'm passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm fired up about is just helping women. And specifically, I mean, I love hanging with the dudes too, because that's what that's comfortable for me growing up
Right.
with brothers. But
Right. So it's wine. What are the three? Something? Women, wine,
wine,
wealth.
and wealth. Yep.
What do you see? Where do you see that going? What's
Yeah.
kind of the big? I know you're just starting, but like
Right.
the big picture of like where you would kind of love to see that go.
Well, I'd love to just see the community grow. So we had about 20 women show up for the first evening, which was great. I mean,
Honestly,
it's
that's
great.
more than I actually probably would have thought for the
Yeah.
first get together.
Yeah. And it's within our little community,
Yeah.
right? So hopefully as it grows to other communities, and we get to know more people in our community. And it's hard because I primarily work with men. So
Right.
to extend myself, it's like, I got to get in this female world here.
Yeah.
Like it would actually be really easy. And I'm working on the male side of that. It's easier to grow that because that's what I'm around all the time.
Right.
So,
Right.
but the women is really what I'm passionate about right now. I kind of have two. It's the Women, Wine, and Wealth, and then a nonprofit called Rescued as well. That is a resource for victims of rape, abuse, and sex trafficking. So just women in general, just empowering women. That is really what I'm passionate about right now. But where I see Women, Wine, and Wealth going is basically 4 events a year, bringing some other people into, whether that's, loan officers or realtors or insurance people or yoga instructors like Ashley or whoever, like business people like Ellen or whatever it may be. I think women just need to do a better job at celebrating each other. We need to be a better job at supporting each other, referring each other. Men are so good at that. They're like bros, and
You
they're like,
know what's funny about that? Here's what's funny about you saying that. I've actually said, and you're probably right. I probably don't think about it in the way you think about it, which I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
Keep going on that thought. But I've actually said, because of Kara, because of Ellen, a few other chicks that have been on here, I've actually said, I feel like you guys do a better job celebrating one another. But what I mean about that, not necessarily a better job of doing business with one another, but a better job of celebrating. And I said, for example, here's what I'm learning. And when I started this podcast, someone told me, bro, make sure you don't just have dudes on your podcast. Make sure you have women on your podcast. And they're like, you're going to see there's more engagement. They're actually going to comment on your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually going to say it. I know there's plenty of dudes that watch my stuff. They're never going to comment. They're never going to like a post.
Yeah,
They're never,
you're right.
Like, dudes
You're
don't
right.
like, they don't like say it. They don't, yo, bro, you're killing it. Like, good job. Like, it's just different. Like, but with like Ellen and Kara and starting to see this little women community, like, because I don't just hang out with the women. So like, but now I'm seeing what they're doing.
Yep.
And I have thought, like, I don't know if like, and maybe it just looks different, but like if dudes like, yo, let's get 20 dudes together and sip on some wine. And
You guys could go and like
Maybe
drink
it's the golf-
bourbon
maybe it's the
together,
golf
or go
course.
play a golf game
Yeah.
where it's like try to get 20
I
women
guess that's
together.
true.
Like, that's impossible. We had it from 5 to 7, and it's like, I got to bring my kid to
Yeah.
basketball, and
Yeah.
like, there's just that responsibility. So there are amazing women. Don't get me wrong. Like, there are a great group of women who celebrate each other, but there is still like an unfortunate cattiness, or it's not even catty. You know what it is? It's insecurity.
Yes, that's what it
It's
is.
insecurity.
That's what it is. That's what Kara has talked about. So
Yeah.
there's a lot on her podcast that she like how she feels and I mean that's what it is. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and you know what it is women they're working or they're not working. They're stay-at-home moms, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters how you do it. And you're an amazing mom if you're at home, and you're an amazing mom if you're working, and you're an amazing woman if you're not a mom. Like, nothing has to look the same for you to be totally enough where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we lose sight of, because women are emotional. They have a really sensitive heart, I think. And our feelings get hurt, or something said, or there's a belief that, there's pressure, whether women have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, succeed a certain way, make so much money, celebrate every holiday with Pinterest ideas. I don't know. There's all this societal pressure
Yep.
that makes us feel like we're not enough. And that creates insecurity, which sometimes gets in the way of us supporting each other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the lack of community, I think. Because guys are they're going to stop by Magoo's on the way home from work. If you go into Magoo's, it's
Dudes.
99% dudes, right?
Maybe you're onto something with that. Like,
what if we had a place where moms could, or women in general could stop by from 4 to 5 and like have that too, but without feeling the guilt and pressure that they need to be home for their kids?
yeah.
But that takes partnership in so many ways. It takes partnership from a spouse or whatnot to cover that for you. Because usually the mom's thinking, I got to get home. I got to make dinner. Little Jimmy's got to go to basketball practice, and little Bob's got to go to football. Whatever it is, like, there's something going on all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Kara just saying like she just feels like she has to be superwoman with everything. And not that she was pointing any fingers, just society, like I have to do all these things at an elite level.
Yeah.
And being a dude, like that's why it's interesting talking to not dudes, because there's perspectives I don't think about because I don't have that perspective. Like you're right. Like, yeah, me and the fellas will this or that. And like, I'm not feeling like I gotta go do this with Rye, or I don't know. And mine's a little bit different because we got one and we share her, and there's plenty of parents to go around. But like as a guy, I never really felt like I gotta what you're saying or Kara has said, or but you're right. Like I've never walked into a place and thought, man, there's just a bunch of chicks in here.
Yeah, right?
Just
Maybe you're
hanging
going
out,
to the
having a
wrong
drink.
places, but
Maybe I am.
But let me ask you this, okay? So when you think about you and Adrian,
Yeah.
I mean, do you notice any difference of her going out with girls as much as you go out with guys?
Oh, it's not even close.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's not even close.
Right? Like, what's the disconnect here?
Yeah.
And it's been easier for me because, again, we share the kids. So on weeks I don't have the kids, it's trying to increase that, trying to create community. On weeks I have the kids, like everyone else is at a standstill and I'm with my kids because I get them 50% of the time. But I can relate to having them 100% of the time and trying to balance that and say, how do I do this? But when I don't have the kids, it takes a conscious effort for me to still go out and do something.
Yeah.
Not go home.
Yeah.
Like, what would it look like for me to get together with other women? But like to think about taking a trip to Vegas with 10 women, like I would love to try to find 10 women to do that. Like, whereas 10 dudes would have no problem. Like, hey, wife, gonna go to Vegas. We'll see you in a week. Like,
that's like, hey, next weekend, what are you doing, bro? Going to Vegas? All right, I'm in.
Yeah, let's go to the sports book, which I would love to do, right? That's part of the disconnect for me too, is I'll be at the sports book.
Right,
like,
right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think once you get plugged in with Kara and Ellen, and obviously there's others out there. That's just two that I've had on my short stint of this show so far that are really like push that
Sure.
community, and they hold their own events and whatnot. Yeah, this, I mean, part of the layers to this podcast, we talked about a lot of them out there, but one major layer is that like relativity, that like we said, like I want to tell everyone why we're more alike than not.
Agreed.
Because the majority of the channels out there, whatever platform you're watching or listening, they want to tell us why we're different. And I want to tell everyone why we're not. Because I believe that. I believe we're a lot more similar than we're not.
Agreed.
Regardless of your race and your religion and your sex and your profession and all those kind of things. I know a lot of people. I've met a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. And to be honest, at the end of the day, when you boil it down, we're all pretty darn similar in terms of like, man, we want someone to love us, and we would like to have a roof over our heads.
We
and
want connection
like
and community.
yeah, great to have community. It'd be cool if we did a job that we actually enjoyed and didn't hate. Like, I'd never really met someone that's like, I just love doing this job that I hate. Like, I know most people would love to like earn a living at something
what they
they
love.
enjoy. Yeah. Like you said earlier, like, Trav, it seems like you love this. And I'm like, I can't even imagine what it's going to feel like when I make money from this. And like I told you, like, I think that's right around the corner. There's a couple things in the works that I think it's going to be a lot quicker and probably a lot bigger than what I thought. But I can't even imagine that. I've told Adrian, and you're welcome to come. I told her the moment I make my first dollar, I don't know how it's going to come in or what that's going to look like, but the moment I make my first dollar from this passion of mine, like, we're going out and celebrating.
Yeah.
And I've had other businesses, even with River City. We had a nice meal at our 1 year earlier this year, our 1 year anniversary. But this, like, I love doing this. And I'm like, when I make $1, we are going out and celebrating this. Which has got me passionate about other people finding their passion. Like the dude that called me yesterday, talking about that podcast and wanted me to help him get it going. I think that topic will be huge.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're passionate about it, I'm passionate about that. Like, yeah, I will help you. Like, if that's what you're like, you're just trying to make money, or I'm not into that. But I'm finding, because I never knew what that looked like. I didn't feel this before. Like, I have said to so many people, I'm 40 years old and feel like I just found my thing. That will be part of my story. It's not too late. You can still find your thing. If you feel like I haven't found my thing, there's something else, you can still find it. And I think for me, I mean, my friends are taking notice. Like, most of my friends haven't listened to any of these episodes yet. But I will say, recently, it seems like some of my friends are like, yo, what's up with the podcast, bro? Seems like it's working, or you're not getting back to me like you used to, or I know you're busy, or I see what you're posting. And it's been fun to have that passion show through.
Sure.
So.
Well, I'll say this, if you don't mind. I've known you for a few years, and you can just tell it's one of the best versions of yourself. Like, coming in here today, I mean, we haven't seen each other for a little while. And that's why I said that. Like, you look like this is what you love. And it's really refreshing to see. It's encouraging. I didn't know what today would look like, right? I jokingly told you, gosh, I hope this isn't all about business. Because, like, I love what I do. But I hope people remember me when I'm gone for something more than what I do.
Yeah.
I hope they remember me for who I am. And I think you have done a phenomenal job creating this platform where people can share about who they are and not what they do, so that one day when they are gone, we remember who they were.
Yeah.
That now is the time where people hear the story and then they can identify with it, and they can create connection and community and relationships. Like, that's what I love about the coincidence of us doing this, is like, this is what I want. Like, I want our community to be better at connection and authentic connection, which is what I feel like you've done here. It's like, there's a genuineness about it. It's things I haven't said, especially on a public platform. Like, but we have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
We have to be a little bit vulnerable so that people know you can be trusted, and I can talk to you and I can relate to you and I can share the same things, because at the end of the day, we're all broken people.
Mm-hmm.
And we all need each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to be wanted. We need to be loved. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people around you that do love you and want you, and more than you probably know, because you haven't even met them yet. And this platform allows people to expand that a little more. So,
Well, first off, I appreciate you saying that, because when I get compliments from like my friends that know me, it hits a little different. You know, to be honest, most of the pats on the back I get so far are people that don't know me. A lot of people don't even know who I am. They just send messages to the chair. They don't know Trav.
yeah.
So it has been very humbling with my friends that know me and like, yo, there's something different with this. So I appreciate that. I've recently been thinking, why is this working so well? Not just, I know people, like I said, I think we're wired to want to share our story and to want people to listen to us and hear us out and know who we are. But I thought, like, why is this working in the way it's working? And actually today I was talking to my mom and I was like, we're all so busy. We're all so busy. And even when you go to mixers or get-togethers, you're so limited. Like if you go to an event, let's say the event is going to last, like your event on Monday, right? There's only a certain amount of time that you're going to be able to spend with someone, or maybe
Right.
someone's speaking and everyone's listening, or whatever it may be. And I was just thinking about kind of the analytics of what this podcast is. And I thought, most of us are really, really busy, and it's not too often you can sit down with someone and go, hey, let's talk for an hour or two. And it's not very often that people go, and I'll shut up most of the time. You talk.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the success of this. Is what's neat being on social media is now the consumer, they can consume the content when they have time. So now they're going to get to know a bit more than about Andrea than they ever would have, but they might be listening to this at midnight or 5 o'clock in the morning, where if they were at a mixer, I mean, we all kind of know how that goes. Like you go and you shake hands, how's it going? And then you're talking to someone else. And so we all want that connection. We all want a deeper conversation, but I've just kind of thought the rational part about that, it is difficult to, you have a million messages on your phone right now. I know that.
I'm sure.
Right? Like you have a million,
So I took the watch off and everything. I don't want to know about it.
3:23. We're going to wrap this up. I know you have to go at 3:30. I'm sure I have some messages. I have Riley's got a game. I got other stuff I'm doing tonight. I think that's kind of the neat thing with, I guess, using social media for good, which is, there's a lot of people that are listen or watch this, and they'll do it when they can, which is kind of cool. Like, because like, I don't know, they're driving in the car. Like Adrian, she doesn't watch. She listens. You and I watch stuff.
Yeah.
I need to see the face. I need to see the body language.
Makes me connect to them.
Yeah. Like I need to, like her, she's driving in the car. She's listening. And so, but it's, I've thought like, why it's almost it's freaking really humbling and cool. It is almost daily. Someone sending me a message or saying this, or, yo, did you hear the podcast guy was here at the bar Friday night?
But do you know what's unique about it? Like, let me tell you, just one thing that I can take away from it is the mixers, social media, they cover the highlights, right? It's not a deep conversation on social media. It's not a deep conversation at a mixer. I would never share this at a mixer.
Yeah.
In fact, I probably never really shared on social media, right? But to have a conversation with someone where we're allowing others to listen in, like, it's deeper. And it's like, okay, I want to get to know that person, right? Listening to Kara, like, I want to get to know that person.
She's
Listening
gonna
to
love
Jim
hearing that.
Sparkman or Chad or
Yeah.
Zach or whoever that you've
Yeah.
had on here is like, I'm compelled
Yeah.
to know them more.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need platforms like this so that we're reminded, like, I'm compelled to know Trav.
Right.
Like, I want to know more about what's going on in your life because of what I've heard.
Right.
Like, that's really cool that I don't think social media covers and mixers don't cover.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so unique.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know. I feel like a lot of great, cool inventions are the like most simple. My mom, we joked about it today because my mom's not really on social media. So, I mean, I've been doing this for 5 months now. Today's the first time I sat and talked to her about it. She has no idea some of these things. So I'm trying to I'm like, yeah, this and this and this and this and all these kind of things. And I said, actually, Mom, I've referenced you multiple times because, the show Shark Tank, my mom has said, Trav, can you not just sit around all day one day and just think of something like $1 million idea, something simple? Sure. Like, she's like, can you not think of like a scrub daddy? Scrub daddy, like multi-million dollar, like, she's like, can you not think of an idea like that? And so just today, I actually told her, as I was explaining all this stuff, I was like, Mom, I think I found my scrub daddy. I think because all I'm doing is just talking, having a conversation. I just recorded it.
And it's what you're good at. It's your passion. And Scrub Daddy doesn't necessarily bring as much purpose. It can, I guess, but
yeah,
this is gonna do something for people. I'm excited about it.
So be ready when yours comes out and someone comes up and says, you invited this, Andrea. You said come talk to me. That's right. You said
I can't wait.
You would be willing to have this kind of conversation, and I'm going through this right now.
Yeah, that's what I want for people, and I'm game. Let's do it. Let's meet for coffee. Every other week, I got lots of time, so with those kids, I gotta take my time with them. But every other week, yeah, we need it.
Well, it was good seeing my friend today. Yeah. I feel like if I had to like a mental picture for how like you, me, and Adrian text each other, it's like we're driving by, waving out the window. Hey, friend.
Yeah. We should catch up.
I'll see you at some point.
Busy lives, but even that, I think that's a good reminder. Like, connection's going to be important, and even those relationships, like making time for that. Yeah. I know we only have so much capacity in life, but you've got to draw close to those that mean something to you. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun.
Good.
All right.